In order to get a better understanding of the drums, we went in search for the ultimate drum master. Our journey took us through the darkest forests, the longest valleys, the hottest deserts. We even climbed the highest mountains. And at the end of the journey, all we found was an empty house. Instead, we found this girl.
Alright, can you give us a quick summary on the drums?
Drums are members of the membraphone family of musical instruments that are considered one of the world's oldest, dating back to thousands of years. Early drum sets were called traps, which was short for contraptions. The term is no longer used, but a trap case is still what they call the case that transports a drum set. Early drums were all attached to one large bass drum and used for calf skins for the drum heads, but they broke too easily. Now it is more common to use plastic for the drum heads. Marianne Evans created the first plastic drum head in the early 1950s. Cymbals were introduced later and were hung from drum sets. Bottom line, a drum is a musical instrument that creates a sound when you hit it. What distinguishes a drum from, say, a soup pot is a membrane, aka a head, strung across a hollow chamber called the shell. A soup pot is fun to hit but won't get you a refined sound, which the drum can give you. A well-made and a well-tuned drum can produce all the subtle dynamic textures of a finely crafted violin and create a variety of pleasing sounds, whereas a soup pot only clings when you hit it.
In today's musical world, you can find drums anywhere and everywhere, creating beats, rhythm, tempo, fills, structure, transitions, and leads. You can find them in rock, jazz, rap, country, Latin, techno, and heavy metal. Check it out.
What a wonderful world.
She could dance like this. She make a man wanna speak Spanish. Como se llama? Bonita, Picasa.
Didn't make nice. I'm not ready to back down. I'm still mad as hell.
Music and dancing, magic and games, and lots of great stories to tell. In the Wiggles world, in the Wiggles world, you're all welcome here, so let's get...
The snare is the heart and soul of the drum set. The snare drum is a shallow drum, typically between 5 and 7 inches deep. That's 14 inches in diameter and has a series of metal wires, called snares, hence the name snare drum, stretched against the bottom head. The big difference between a snare drum and other drums is in the resonant underside of the drum or the reso head. The snare's wire coils stretch across its underside, vibrate and snap against the resonant head when the drum is struck, which gives the snare its distinct sound. The bearing edge has a shallow flat spot, cut into at opposite points falling between tuning nods, which is called the snare bed. It is there to stop the wires from giving unwanted rattles or buzzes. Also, the resonant head is extremely thin. It's extremely thin to make the drum more responsive to the vibrations from striking it.
The tom-toms are pitch drums. The toms, there are rack toms and there are floor toms. The head sizes typically range from 6 to 8 inches. On the rack toms, the head sizes on the floor toms range from 14 to 20 inches. Rack toms are normally seen mounted above the kick drum. The floor tom is located on the floor and are supported by legs. Not all drum kits include floor toms, but when used, they are almost always the largest and the lowest tuned tom-toms in the kit. The toms are constructed with a cylindrical shell with one or two heads stretched across the open ends. The tom-tom supposedly originated from Native American or Asian cultures. They are generally used as fills or patterns.
The bass drum, also known as kick drum, is the largest drum in the drum set. The head size on the bass drum typically ranges from 18 inches to 24 inches, but there are bass drums larger than this. The kick drum is played with foot pedals striking the center of the head. The bass sits on the floor with the head vertical. All the other drum heads are horizontal. Most often the drum is tuned to just above its lowest tuning point. The front head has a small hole in the resonant head to facilitate miking and the insertion of some form of treatment to reduce resonance and increase the attack.
Its sound is the foundation of the rhythm of the band, often pounding out the basic pulse of the music or playing along with the bass player's rhythm.
Cymbals. The cymbal is not a drum but still a percussion instrument. The cymbals are made of many different types of cymbal alloys. Cymbals are of indefinite pitch. The most basic drum set typically has at least one suspended cymbal and a pair of hi-hat cymbals. There are different types, sizes, sounds that a cymbal can create. The hi-hats or cymbals are mounted on a stand, one facing up and one facing down, and are 13, 14, or 15 inches in diameter. The stand has a pedal that pushes the cymbals together or pulls them apart. Your left foot controls the opening and closing of the hi-hat. The ride cymbal is an alternative to the hi-hat. Ride cymbals range in size from about 16 inches all the way up to 24 inches across. The ride cymbal is traditionally used to create a louder, fuller sound than the hi-hats, and is often played during the chorus of a song or during a solo. The typical drum set usually has one or more crash cymbals used for accentuating certain parts of the music. Usually at the beginning of a phrase or section of a song, these cymbals create a sound that resembles a crash.
Bearing edge is the only part of the shell that the head touches. The top of the shell is cut so that it comes to a point between the outer and the inner edge. The sharpness of this edge is important to the overall sound of the drum. A sharper point will make the resonance within the drum head greater and will allow the better vibration to pass through the hoop and will add to the overall drum sound. A rounded edge will be less bright in tone and more vibration will be able to be absorbed into the drum. The depth of the drum affects the overall sound of the drum. It does not affect the pitch, but the quality of the tone. A long drum will have more full tone because the wavelengths will have more distance in which to develop. It takes more effort to work longer drum because you are working with more air. A longer drum will have less attack and a slower response. A shorter drum will not have a lesser tone and shorter resonance.
The density of the shell has a large impact on the sound of the drum. A thick drum will not resonate as well. The vibration will reflect off the shell rather than be absorbed by the shell. A thinner drum shell will vibrate and resonate with greater harmony with the head. In general, a thinner shell drum will accept all head types and thickness and will deliver an optimum tone for that head type.